say that it's all that, and more importantly, it is the intended expression of the divine feminine for women and the connection to the divine feminine, inner connection to the divine feminine for men.
Hello and welcome to Soul Aware. I'm so delighted to be speaking with our guest today, Cayelin K. Castell. Cayelin, welcome to Soul Aware. I am so delighted to have you here to talk with us about the Venus cycles and why they are so crucial for our lives and success in our love relationships, purpose, creativity, and our money flow, and so much more.
One of my favorite subjects, so I'm very delighted to be here to talk to you about this.
So, how did you get into the Venus cycles?
So I guess I got involved in this perspective of shamanic astrology back in 1990. And I think it was around 95, 96, there was a lot more information starting to come out about the Venus cycle. And it just so happened I was in a Venus return. But we didn't really completely fully understand like what's a good way to work with it? How can we have it be more alive? We were just thinking it was like, oh, every 8 years on your 8th, 16th, 24th, 32nd, 40th, 48, 40, 56, 64, 72, 80, 88, 96, and 104th birthdays, Venus is back where it was when you were born. Um, every 8 years, but there's so much more to it. It's like there's these different cycles, five Venus cycles every 8 years, and then the eighth year it comes back to the starting point. And so it's like coming to a higher octave of whatever the intent is of that particular cycle. And so I didn't know that we were just looking at the birthday, like here's the birthday, celebrate your Venus return, whatever that's about. But I just so happened to be going through a priestess initiation at the time and learning how to do ceremony. I didn't even know what that was prior to going through this whole initiation. And and so I found it fascinating that I went through this um, process and was learning how to do ceremony, and then later learned how to apply it to the Venus
So,
cycle.
what was going on for you at age 40 when this
I
was
was that was but the big thing was that my priestess initiation, that was actually almost I completed that initiation 30 years ago and turned 40 like a couple months later. But I was in my Venus return because it's a 19-month cycle. So sometimes it's closer to the 40th birthday that you start the cycle. Sometimes it's later. I was near the end of the cycle. And so I was in a way really reclaiming a sense of the divine feminine within myself through doing the priestess work and being able to work with other women in a close ceremonial connection. So I think that was probably the most amazing thing that could have been happening. And if you think about Venus having five cycles every 8 years, 5 times 8 is 40. Venus is retrograde for about 40 days. The age 40 Venus return is very significant for people, usually. But if I look back to age 32, when I went through that one, I went through my first divorce. My whole life was completely changed. That was also a Venus-Mars return. They return together every 32 years. And so my life was, I said, I would describe it as being burned to the ground. Like when I came out the other side of that, I was not the same person and not in the same relationship, not in the same life. Just everything had changed. And then age 40 was just taking me to this higher octave of my feminine expression. And then age 48, another divorce. Another time when my life was being completely shifted and changed. And I still didn't really understand how to completely work with the Venus cycle at that time. Although I did go out and see Venus and the moon as much as I possibly could. I also did go out and do some ceremony with some priestess sisters at different times. Then it was my age 56 Venus return when I was like, my life was good, really good at that time. It also turns out it's the nodal return at age 56. So Venus and the nodes come back together at that time. So I was really getting on the path of my destiny, I feel, at that time. And I was keeping a Venus journal, I had a Venus altar, I was doing Venus ceremony every month with the Venus moon, going out and whenever the skies were clear. I think they were clear all the time actually for that Venus cycle. And
So
just be
ceremony that you're talking about, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be a very simple ritual that you do to engage the Venus energy.
I knew a little bit more about ceremony, so I was drawing tarot cards. I was, like, what is this site? What is this month about for me? What is going on with this? That's what I was doing. I also created a portable Venus altar that I could take with me when I was going to do events and things, so that I could have that near me. But it was the main thing was I really wanted to stay connected to the entire cycle. And then from there, a few years later, Venus alchemy came about, because I was, uh, it was a way of giving people the opportunity to have the experience going through the cycle as the story of Inanna, going through the initiation, going through the whole process that the Babylonians and Sumerians created in their mythic story of that really describes the Venus cycle as she moves through the sky. Everything in the story connects to what happens to Venus when she's going through her morning star, her underworld, her evening star, and then coming back to
And
the
Venus is within us. I mean, that energy, the Venus energy is a part of who we are. It's really connected with our creativity, the flow of money, um, our relationships, the love we experience in life. Could you?
Well, we could say that it's all that, and more importantly, it is the intended expression of the divine feminine for women and the connection to the divine feminine, inner connection to the divine feminine for men. I was gifted many insights over the years of working with Venus and working with the different goddess energies and that sort of thing. And literally in the last um, Venus cycle, not the one that we're in now, but the one that I guess the one that happened in 2022, when Venus conjuncted the sun in the death part of the cycle, when she's going through the death part of the cycle. Sekhmet came to me and she said, I'm Venus with the sun. She wears the solar disk on her head, that Sekhmet wears.
Mhm.
And I have worked with Sekhmet for years and years, and I just got it. I was like, how did I not ever see that before? And so the sun, if we think about the sun, it is the source of light and life for our planet. So when we want to source a new way of being, going to the sun, the planets go into the sun, then they come out and they have a new something that's related to them. So that's very true of Venus too. She comes out as a new expression of
Mhm.
whatever self she had been, but now without distortions, now without all the
Mhm.
complications, and so she can be really who she is,
Mhm.
in a new way. And that's the essence to me of what the Venus cycle is about, and it has been profound. Um, so I also noticed at age 32, when my whole life was, the Venus Mars, and it was just a complete mess. Age 64, it happens again, and age 96, every 32 years, Venus and Mars come back together at in the same place. They were 32 years prior, and uh, and it was like, wow, I have resolved so many issues with the masculine. My Venus and Mars were like getting along in a really good
So
way.
talk about that, the relationship patterns. How does the Venus cycle reveal why the same relationship patterns keep happening?
Um, so I don't know if I know how to answer that exactly. It's going to be a different process for everybody. We have to be willing to look at our challenges, our patterns, and what it is that we keep recreating in our lives, and
And
then
how
be
does the cycle, I mean, the Venus cycle helps bring that up to deal with it,
right.
right?
Yeah, so if those things are coming up and we don't deal with it, we'll have to deal with it again. If those things are coming up, and especially like currently we're in the phase of the Venus cycle where she's in the death process. She's went into the
So you
underworld,
let go of those old patterns and distortions.
right? And then hopefully when she rises up as evening star in February of 2026, you're ready to step into a new way of being.
So
That's
it's a natural process that's happening. It's going to be happening no matter if we engage with it. But if we do engage with it intentionally, we
yeah.
can get more out of the cycle.
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, my Venus returns have been so, I mean, they were rough in the beginning.
Hmm.
I mean, I have Venus natally is also outer planet aspected a lot, and so challenges that have come with that. And really working with the Venus cycle helped me to resolve that so that I could so that it could become gifts instead of challenges, I guess is
So how
uh,
did you resolve it? How did you use it to resolve it?
so going through the process of the Venus cycle is 19 months. It's about 8, 9 months in the morning sky, 8, 9 months in the evening sky, almost 3 months in the underworld, and then very quick retrograde shift from one cycle to the next. It goes fast at the end, but then a new cycle begins, and then you get to do the process again. And I feel like you can do them even when it's not your Venus return. I've had such profound experiences with that, but it's that willingness to really look at, okay, how am I not in integrity? How am I not in balance? How am I not being who I know I can be? How am I allowing old patterns and things like that to just dictate my choices and what I'm doing and what I'm is, and you can work with it intentionally and ceremonially, like just, okay, I'm ready to let that go. And it could be as simple as throwing something in the fire or
So you're saying like a willingness to look at the pattern
yes. Yeah, it does.
because the pattern's going to come up.
And in the story of Inanna and Ishtar, they choose the initiation. Now, in the story of Persephone, who gets abducted by Hades and taken to the underworld, she did not choose that. She was forced to have that initiation. But in this one, we can choose it. And when we choose it, I think it's more powerful as a result because we're choosing to engage the time, the process, the experience of there's times to let certain, if we look at the chakra gates of each of the Venus cycles and how she's letting go in the morning sky and as she's reclaiming in the evening sky. So being in that process of letting go so that you can then reclaim in a healthy way. You want to be able to reclaim it without distortions, without the distractions,
And
without
what
the
happens if you don't engage with it? I mean, does it get more intense if you don't in the next
um,
cycle?
That I think that is can be true, but I don't know. I mean, I think we can ignore things for a certain amount of time, but the universe is constantly knocking at our door trying to get our attention. So I would say that our opportunity is to uh, be willing to engage and then receive the gifts. And it's not necessarily easy. Any initiation is going to require us to show up, to be present, to uh, maybe do some hard work, whatever that might look like in terms of do we need to end some relationships? Do we need to open up to other possibilities?
Mhm.
To stop doing the work we're doing or add to the work we're doing or whatever it is? And what are we most afraid of? And it's facing our deeper fears and also allowing ourselves to feel what we feel. In the story of Inanna, when she's in the underworld, the dark goddess, Ereshkigal or Reshkigal, however you want to say that, she goes through this process of she is furious. She is angry. She is like yelling and screaming and having a fit. And then these little beings come in and they acknowledge where she's at. They acknowledge her feelings. They acknowledge how angry and furious and unhappy she is. And nobody had ever done that for her before. We
Mhm.
can do this for ourselves. We don't have to have somebody do that for us. It can be very awesome when people do that for us, but we don't need that. We can do it for ourselves. Like, oh, I'm so angry about this. Yes, you're so angry about this. You could say that to yourself because that's basically what they said. They just repeated back everything she was saying, and she's like, "It's so unfair." Yes, it's so unfair. You know? So they were, and then she's like so healed from this experience. She's like, I want to give you a gift for what you've given me. And then she starts offering them all these things. And there's pages and pages in the text that has been translated of what she's offering them. And they're like, nope, 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 nope. And then she said, well, I want to give you something. What can I give you? And they said, we want Anana back. So Anana, who is dead at this point, gets brought back to life and gets to leave the underworld,
Mhm.
which is not something that usually happens. And
So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that she goes through a process of shedding distortions, ways she's not in integrity with herself,
Mhm.
and she doesn't like the process. She lets everybody know she doesn't like the process, what she has to go through, but then she's reborn.
Yeah,
She gets reborn. So she's a completely new person through
yeah,
going through that process. Is
yes.
that
Yeah, that's a good summary of that. Yes. So yeah, we may not like it, and it may be hard, and we may have to let go of things we don't really want to let go of,
mhm,
that we're maybe somewhat attached to. And then we need to grieve because we had to let go of a relationship or a lifestyle or a way of being or whatever it might be. We might need to grieve that loss. And then when we do, it's like it gets released out of our physiology, out
mhm,
of our, you know, emotional body, our physical body, our mental body. It gets released out. And then we have space to really claim who we really are.
mhm,
That's the whole
mhm,
point of the process.
mhm,
We claim, it's not that we've always been who we really are. We just forget, and then we get
mhm,
these distortions and things that come in, and it's like, who is this person?
mhm.
I remember.
Welcome to the channel. I'm so glad you are here. If what you see resonates with you, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone you feel might benefit. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy the rest of the show.
I remember when I
So,
first realized,
and it goes through that cycle every 8 years.
yeah.
You know,
And
it goes through the
I mean, you
whole,
can
well,
go,
like
it goes
every
through
19 months, but
every
every 8 years, it goes back to the beginning
so it's
place.
your personal cycle every 8 years.
Mhm,
But you can engage every cycle every 19 months. You don't have to wait for the 8 years. And in fact, it's probably good to practice because the one that's yours is probably going to be the most impactful. And it can be helpful to have practice. Like I've been doing it now we've been leading people through it since 2014. And every single one, it's like, has been amazing in its own way because it's a different focus for each one of them. And depending on where Venus was when she was rising as morning star, and we talk about the meta goddess that's on the world stage, the expression of the feminine that's
mhm,
also going through the initiation. So something you might find interesting, back in 2017 when we were in the same cycle we're in right now, it was an Aries cycle. And at that time on the collective world stage was when the movie Wonder Woman came out, and she does battle with the god Ares. And she's protecting the people. It's very her nature was very Aries like she's there to protect and to defend and to support a healthy way of being in the world. And then so that was just like so Aries. And then that was also the time during that cycle when more women were elected to office than ever before. They all stepped up and were like, yeah, we're doing this. So you could really see the Aryan energy on the collective world stage.
So what do you see? So what are we completing with this 2025 a year with the previous cycle? And what is the new cycle that's coming in 2026?
Okay, so there was a cycle that started in March of 2025. And literally, this is when the Sumerians and the Babylonians created the story of Inanna and Ishtar, it was a story to describe every aspect of the Venus cycle, how she moves through the sky, what's going on when she's moving through the sky. And that gives us the insight on how to work with it ceremonially. And um, they would, as a culture, reenact the story as a ceremony every 8 years. And that was the one that was when she rose closest to spring equinox, which just happened in March of 2025. And in March of 2025, she rose in Aries for some people, and other people was Pisces. So we've been working with it as an Aries Pisces cycle. So the meta goddess being the goddess of fierce compassion. The fierceness of Aries and the compassion of Pisces, the healer energy of Pisces, and the don't mess with me energy of Aries. So yeah, so that cycle started, and we've just gone into the underworld phase of that cycle on November 25th and are in that underworld phase until February 17th. So this is the phase of the cycle where it's about feeling the feelings, grieving the losses, letting go, continuing to let go of anything that needs to be let go of that's in the way of our authentic self. And then in February 17th, she begins to rise up into the evening sky and reclaim her authentic self. That'll take another 8 or 9 months before
Yeah,
that's
that's also, aren't we at a new moon during that time? Is that a new moon? Or
uh
full moon? New moon.
it's
New
it
moon. Should be a new
I
moon.
think it's a new moon.
And
And
then we've got that conjunction between Neptune and Saturn
yes,
happening on the 20th.
yes. So what happens in the evening sky is there's a new moon, and then a day or two later, the moon catches up with Venus. Sometimes it's the next day, sometimes it's a couple days later. It just depends on how far it is into the cycle. But you get to go out and see Venus and the moon together. And sometimes that is the ceremony. That is the like just going and opening to whatever downloads might be coming through for you at that time. And then the news cycle will start in October of 2026. There'll be Venus will rise as morning star on October 30th in a new sign in a new cycle. And that'll be the Libra meta goddess coming onto the world stage. And she is all about relationship, how we relate
So
to our.
that should be good. That, I
Yeah.
mean, that seems like a good omen for more collaboration, cooperation, more unity, more
Yes.
love.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, Libra is like most interested in I bring what I bring to the table, you bring what you bring to the table. They're not the same things, but they're equally valued
Mhm.
things. Or what I bring is not more important than what you bring, or what you bring is not more important than what I bring. It's equally valued.
Exactly.
And that'll be an interesting cycle to engage. It's also interesting to uh, think about the gods and goddesses that were in relationship and how they were in relationship at that time and that cycle. Like some of them didn't really have great relationships. So how are we changing our collective perspective on how to do relationship? Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of what needs to happen, our perspective on things, not
Yes.
being locked in to our perspective as being the right perspective or the only perspective.
Right.
Because everybody sees things differently.
Yeah. And I mean, if the other thing about the Libra mysteries is that it's the round table. And if you're sitting around the table or the circle, it could be the circle, it doesn't have to be the round table, but one of the things King Arthur's thing was he was not more important than all of his knights. He sat equally around the table with them and valued what they brought and their insights. And that's really when we're sitting in a circle, we all have a different perspective. We're seeing a different part of this what if we're outdoors, a different part of the nature, or if we're indoors, a different part of the room. We're seeing different aspects, we're seeing different things from where we sit around the circle. And and then how do we value, like I can't see what's necessarily behind me, except I'm on Zoom right now, so I do see what's behind me, but but if you're sitting in a room, you don't necessarily see what's behind you. You need somebody to tell you, unless you're willing to turn and look. But it's an opportunity to also co-create and collaborate.
Mhm.
And collaboration means it's like, one person can do so much, but two people, like if you're trying to carry a heavy thing, one person can't lift it, but two people can carry it a long way because you have that extra. So that's really what the Libra mysteries is like, oh, what can we do together and get so much further down the road with whatever it
So
is
the
that.
retrograde cycle starts October 3rd, and then she comes out and she is a new Venus
by October 30th. She actually is with the sun. Let me see, I'll turn this over now. She is conjunct the sun at 1 degree Scorpio on October 22nd. And then she'll rise up as a morning star in Libra. So some people use the sun conjunction to start the cycle, but you can't see that. And so that ancient cultures used the when Venus was visible in the morning sky. That was the beginning of the cycle because you could have a visceral, visual connection to the goddess, to the divine feminine, to Venus. And so we look at when where is she when she rises as
So
morning
it
star?
sounds like, Venus is very definitely connected with emotional healing, with all these releasing of distortions, that part of the process.
Yeah.
And it can be a map to our emotional healing.
Yes.
And also connecting with our own feelings of self-worth. Why are we out of integrity? Why are we carrying these distortions? It sounds like partially at least, it could be a self-worth issue. Why you've traded yourself off
Right.
and not
And
been authentic,
self-inquiry
true to
about why
yourself.
those things happen, doing the inquiry, the self-inquiry, the deeper dive into why that is the case. And then once we have the awareness of what that's about, then we can change it. But until we're aware, it's pretty much running the show.
So, and also you said something about when you were 48, I think you said you really, after going through that part of the cycle for you, you really came out feeling much more of a sense of purpose.
Yes, at 48 and 56 too, I really did. I mean, the
It was
'cause
56. Yeah, when you
I
said you really
made
felt,
with that cycle in a way that allowed me to recognize that, yeah, it's like
were
book
you
my,
connecting with the Venus cycles back then, or was this just something that was naturally you connected the dots with Venus
I,
cycle, or?
I started being aware of the Venus cycle at age 40. I worked with it a little bit at age 48, but my life was a mess and I was trying to deal with all that. At age 56, was very focused on being with every aspect of the Venus cycle and it was life-changing. And I
And
just did.
that, yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like that has been life changing. And that's why you want to bring it out to so many people now through Venus Alchemy, because you
Yeah.
know how much it's made a difference in your own life following those cycles.
Well, and actually, when we first did Venus Alchemy, or we didn't even call it that then, we were only just going to do one cycle and lead everybody through it, kind of like the Sumerians and the Babylonians doing their community cycle, but we did it on Zoom. Or actually, we did it on teleconference back in 2014. Now we do it on Zoom, but when we were doing it, people were saying, "This is so good. We want to do the rest of these. You need to keep doing this." And we hadn't thought that far ahead. It was like that was what everyone was asking for, so we kept doing it. And then eventually we realized we needed to call it something. So we decided to call it Venus Alchemy because the alchemy of working with the Venus cycle is so transformative and life-changing. And you don't need a group to do it with. It's really fun to do it with a group, but you can do it yourself. That's literally what I did when I was at my age 56 Venus return. I just did it myself. And I just, having had the priestess background and knowing how to do some ceremony, and I knew how to draw tarot cards at each Venus gate, get some insights that way, journal, I kept a journal, uh, and it was just profound of
Well, it
the,
sounds like you had a commitment to your own process as a woman.
yes, yes, yes. And I will say this is also a good process for men because
Yeah,
because
for
they have a
integrating their feminine
relationship.
side.
Yeah, their inner feminine to get a deeper connection to that is so good for them that if they want that, if you don't want that, then that's fine too. But yeah,
Well, these are natural forces. They're going to be operating. And the more, as we said earlier, the more intentional, the more engaged you are, the better your results, your outcomes. You're
right.
going to enhance these
Yeah.
stages of the journey.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, if you think about how in ancient times, 5,000 years ago, six, I don't even know how long ago really this was that they came up with this, but the translations from the cuneiform texts, it's at least 5 or 6 thousand years old of the story of Inanna being the initiation ceremony. It's and we have that today to give us insight about how to work with it. So if you, I mean, there's books that have been written, Inanna, Queen of Heaven and Earth by Diane Wilkestein and some other person I can't think of right now. But anyway, that book is really helpful. And then there was somebody who wrote about the descent of the goddess. Um, Sylvia Pereira, I think was her name. And she's relating to the Venus cycle, but the descent of the goddess. Yeah, so there's books out there, there's ways out there that are that you can tune into that you can support you in figuring it out for yourself if that's something that inspires you.
So is does the Venus cycle help us work with intensity? I mean, there's so much intensity happening on the planet right now.
I don't know. I think maybe being aware, like here we are in the underworld phase of the Venus cycle, that's intense. And it's about feelings. It's about grieving losses. It's about whatever it is that we need to let go of and forgive ourselves and forgive others and go through that whole process. This is the time. And uh, Venus is supporting that. And it's also happening for other reasons on astrological reasons on a global scale, but that's it's definitely part of the whole thing right now, and so it enhances if we're
And
willing.
we're
And
going to be in this underworld phase until,
February 17th, yeah.
so this
So
is a good time to do that inner work of releasing and letting go.
yeah, uh, there's a book that was written by a woman. Her name is going to come to me in a minute, called The Right Use of Will. It was channeled. Cian de Rohan. She channeled this book. And the first part of it is brilliant because she talks about how we have been trained to suppress and repress our emotions. It's like to be angry, to be frustrated, to feel grief, to feel whatever that's about. It's like we're supposed to feel happy all the time. Like, oh, yeah, I'm fine, just move on, whatever. Um, we don't have examples of how to really give ourselves permission to feel. And she recommended that people, it's like watch a movie that gets you into the deeper feeling realm and then just let it go. And be you might need to be by yourself and you might need to be in a place where other people won't hear you screaming, kicking, pounding, shaking, doing whatever you need to do to get it up and out of your body because we're just continually suppressing and pressing
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
pushing it.
feelings just want to be felt.
Yeah. And then once they're felt, it's like so liberating. It feels
Mhm.
so good. It's like energy rushes through your body. It's like, oh my God. Oh, wait, I was suppressing this so hard that I didn't even know that I had this life force energy that it was available to me. So this is the time for that. This is the time to feel and to create space for that. And I did a grief ceremony back in 2010 with Saban Fusome. She was from the Dagara tribe in Africa, and she came to Tucson and did this ceremony, and it was so profound. I allowed myself to grieve like I never have, and I just had this rush of energy go through my whole body, and I was like, that's why they do these ceremonies, and they do them regularly in tribal cultures like that. They did them. She said they did it monthly in her tribe. And if you needed to grieve or have an experience like that, you could go to a different tribe that was doing it on a different day. Wasn't necessarily happening in your tribe at that time. You could go somewhere else if you needed to. And we just don't do that. We don't know how to do that. But we don't have to do it with other people. I feel like it's powerful when we do it with other people. That experience for me was
Is the
profound.
witness, that witness aspect, I think.
Yeah. And that everyone's there with the same intent. It's we're letting go, we're grieving, we're allowing ourselves to feel these deep feelings that we haven't allowed ourselves to feel before. howling and keening. Most people were being really quiet. And when I went to the altar to do the grief part of it, I just started howling and keening. And then everybody started doing that because they needed permission, I guess. I don't know. I felt a little embarrassed, but that's
You
what
were their permission slip.
I guess I was. Yeah. But you can give yourself permission and do it in your own space. You don't have to be with other people.
Yeah.
And it's so liberating. It's just so amazing. And this is the time. I mean, we're at the end of a year that's been very intense. We're in the underworld phase of the Venus cycle that's been very intense. This is the time. Yeah. This is the time to give ourselves permission.
So, what are signs that, tell you you're not working with the Venus cycle? Rather, you're working, maybe not
I might be
against it exactly, but you're not really
Um,
engaged or
That might
working
be
with it.
different for different people, but I feel like if we're feeling a lot of resistance, if we're feeling a lot of um like anger, questioning, and we're not giving ourselves permission to feel those feelings and move through them, then we're probably not working with a cycle. If things aren't going well, now that can happen because I've worked with the cycle and had things not go well because they were things I needed to let go of.
Mhm.
And I was
Mhm.
resisting and I was trying
Mhm.
to hang on and I didn't want to let go of them. And then finally I was
And it
like,
can be unconscious. I mean, it can be
"Yeah,
just, you can feel some kind of angst or some kind of something.
right." But then once you become aware, you're like, oh, I need to let go of this. And you start taking steps towards letting go. Sometimes you can do it like all at once, just depends on whatever it is that you're dealing with. And sometimes it takes a little while because you can't necessarily just end it right now, but you can start taking the steps to end it. And then you'll start feeling better. And then you know you're on the right track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a process working with those inner demons, those inner hooks, things that have their hooks in us that are, they're like memories of energetic patterns that previously we energized and now they're just hanging out there, and we need to.
Right. Well, and if we have a really strong, uh, say we're in a marriage and we have children and we have a family and a lifestyle and a job and all those things, it can take time to undo all that if that's what's needed.
This
Uh,
process.
Yes. Or if you're creating all that, it takes time to create all that.
Mhm.
If you're wanting to step into something like that. So it just takes time. Sometimes it can be more instant, but often it's not.
Yeah, it's a process. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just need to give ourselves permission to be in the process.
Yeah.
Trust that the
And I
process,
think just even talking about all this, realize there's this natural process. It's always at work, and we
right.
can engage with it and begin to work with it consciously so that things go smoother.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we make meaning out of the message or
Yes.
the intensity that's going
Messy,
on.
that's information for us if things are messy. And there may be simple things we can do to clean that up, and it may take a while. It's like, okay. And just allowing it to be what it is, not trying to force it to be different instantly, but just allowing it to unfold and to shift and change and grow and evolve in whatever way that is divinely intended, right?
And that's trusting. I mean, that's a trust thing
Yeah. And
that there
sometimes,
is something, supporting you, holding you
yeah, yeah. And
through the process. Yeah.
when we have that awareness, it's easier. When we are just flailing and have no idea, then
Doubt, a lot of doubt and questioning. I
yes.
think the more you are anchored into yourself, your authentic self, that's your touchstone. And
Hmm.
that's what can anchor you to get through these different stages
Yes.
of initiation that we all go through in life.
Yeah. We don't, none of us get out of it. We maybe like to think we could, but it's not really going to happen.
I don't, you're right, maybe fantasize
I
that way, but I mean, it really serves a purpose. I know that when I go through these tough initiations, I'm really glad. I mean, because they give me
On
so
the other side,
much more. I connect so much more with myself.
yeah,
It's so empowering.
yeah. Yeah, it's the challenges then bring gifts. So if we can say, okay, I'm being challenged, I'm being tested, I'm being, I don't know, whatever it is, can feel really unfair and not right and what not good and whatever the things are that we might be feeling
Right.
about it. But on the other side, looking back, I so many times it's like that was the best thing that could have happened to me.
And I think that just mirrors when you think it's unfair and things like that. That just mirrors that shadow tissue, pulling on you,
Yeah,
whispering in your ear, this isn't fair. This isn't, so
right.
that's just an indication of that. Yeah, you do need to go through this
Yeah. And that it's happening for you.
for you.
Feels like it's happening to you. It's happening for you. And
Yeah.
yeah, and
And you expand in your awareness, who you identify yourself as.
yeah,
You're much greater, bigger than you had thought previously.
yeah. And in essence, like we said earlier on, it's like we're never not our authentic self, our true real self. It's just these things that have clouded it
Hmm.
and clearing up that
Hmm.
about being,
Cleaning the mirror.
yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you sense Venus is trying to correct or reharmonize in the collective field right now?
That is a really good question. I would say based on the Venus cycle we're in, like the meta goddess that's on the world stage, that fierce compassion, and how do we stand for what we believe is just and true? I mean, the Aries Pisces, Aries is all about justice and restoring cosmic order and or divine justice or whatever you want to call it like that. So what's the actions that's needed to take for that? That is really important piece of it. And how do we do it with compassion and with love, with also a understanding or a intention of healing, because there's so much pain that people are going through right now. And so if we can come from that place of greater compassion and hold the space, and oftentimes, and this is what I often say about Pisces, is that it's not about fixing, changing, or making something be different. It's about holding the space for it to be what it is.
Hmm.
And when we hold and when we're not trying to make it be different than
Hmm.
what it is, just in that space. And this is really what happens to uh, in the underworld with Ereshkigal. She just they just hold the space for her to go through what she's feeling. They just hold that. They just witness and reflect back to her. They're not trying to change anything. They're not trying to fix anything. They're just letting it be what it is. And through that, she comes to this place where it's like, oh, now I feel healed. Oh my gosh. So this is, I feel like what this Venus cycle is about is how are we holding the space for that kind of healing? And to, I think the ancient midwives were very Aries. And the reason I say that is because they didn't help the woman have a baby. She was perfectly capable of doing that herself. What they did was they protected the birthing space so she could have the baby.
Hmm.
And keeping the wild animals out or the men or the whoever they had to keep out. And so they were the protectors. The warrior women were they would protect the women having babies. So this is what we need to do. This is how we can see this time is how are we creating the safe space for people to really birth their more authentic true self with love and compassion and do the deep healing that's needed in order for that to come forth.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that's a uh, really important insight about how we can be gracious with each other to just give people the space because it is a very intense time of transformation on the planet.
Yeah.
There's so much shifting and change and adaptation and being thrown at people. And, people are just looking for things to hold on to or be able to anchor. So I think that's a really beautiful insight about, you know, that
Yeah.
having the compassion to hold space for yourself and for other people to allow them to be who they are.
Yes. And allow yourself to be who you are,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is sometimes not so easy because we have been trained to try to be something that we think we're supposed to be, not necessarily who we really are. And that's a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of uncovering that's happening right now. A
Yeah.
lot of uncovering, a lot of exposing
Mhm.
of what's real, what's true, what's the truth, which is beyond judgment. I mean, a lot of people think judgment is how you get to truth, but truth is really about balance, it's about integration of the opposites. Yeah,
Yes.
because everybody has a different perspective to lend, and there's giving that space for everybody to show up as who they are and where they're at.
Yeah.
So that alchemical process that
Yeah.
Venus brings us can happen.
I feel like truth evolves as we evolve. Our truth, what we see as true, grows and evolves as we grow and evolve. It's not whatever we thought was true at age 5 is not what we think is true now, right? So,
Yes.
and there's that constant evolutionary process. So, yeah, this is it's just it's a growth opportunity, and as some people might say, another growth opportunity. Ah. But then when you get through it, you're like, oh, good. I'm so glad I did that.
Well, I think, there is a whole awakening taking place about how we are divine beings and the mystery. We are a mystery that's continually unfolding, and we're becoming greater and grander as we awaken to who we truly are. So it's a journey. It's a long journey
It
to
is.
discover that.
Yep. Yeah. And we have the assistance of planets like Venus that remind us that we're continually going through this journey over and over and over again.
And the thing with Venus is that she's a personal planet,
Yeah.
so you can really relate to what it is she brings.
She is the brightest object in our night sky aside from the moon. But of planetary stars, whatever, she is so bright and so present. And so she's just shining a spotlight on us all the time when we're willing to just go out and hang out with her.
Yes. So if you could give people just one teaching to remember during the 2025 Venus cycle, what would it be?
I feel like it's about feeling our feelings and with the intent to heal, feel to heal. Yeah, that's the most important thing right now. And yes, we can feel and we're angry and frustrated and um, fury and whatever it is those feelings are, grief, the deep grief, all of that, and giving ourselves permission to feel that so we can heal that.
And so what about for the coming Venus 2026 cycle? What would you say that is teaching us, going to be teaching us?
How to co-create, collaborate, um, and yeah, to do conscious relating to ourselves and to each other. How do we do that in a co-creative, collaborative way? Yeah. And so that's what it's going to be about. And I mean, we see, I think we've seen in on the greater world stage, it seems like we see the opposite of that. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how we can manifest that when the new Venus cycle starts.
So how can people get in touch with you? How can they find out more about Venus alchemy?
Uh, venusalchemy.com is our website. We'll have an evening star cycle starting in February. And if people want to join in on that, they can. Um, Even though we're halfway through the cycle, but a lot of people start in the evening sky. Don't, maybe because I'm an evening star myself, I don't know. But um, the You can also get on our newsletter list for Venus Alchemy if you go to the website and just stay up to date on what's happening. So yeah, that's probably the best, easiest way.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Cayelin. And I hope people can really hook into what Venus brings, the gifts, and how she can, connecting with that energy can help people to navigate these times of intense transformation on the planet.
Yes, yes.
And I really appreciate that you're doing this work for people.
Aw, thank you. And I appreciate that you invited me to share about me doing this work. So, so more people can know about it if they want to engage it for themselves. It's very doable. And if you want to engage it with a group, we would love to have you.
Thank you. Till next time, thanks for joining us on Soul Aware.